In record time, they tied up the villain and sent him and the snake on a surprise slide. Horus landed just in time, barely catching his breath before the crumbling temple sneezed and collapsed, and the goddess of love flew in like a superhero. Giant snake just had to look at the goddess of love and froze like a puppy caught misbehaving. He pulled the godly staff from its mouth and joked, "Turns out even single snakes can be tamed." With these, she incinerates the giant snake king. Did you know Hathor, the love goddess, is Horus' wife? Next, they'll extinguish the pyramid's desert fire with water of life. To enter the pyramid's core, they had to solve the Sphinx brain teasers. So, they headed off to consult the smartest guy in ancient Egypt, the god Thoth. Crossed the swamp, reached the god of wisdom's realm, and found identical Thoths in the hall. Turns out Thoth thought he was the best, so he cloned himself to do all the work. Before Horus could say a word, Thoth turned him down, but Cleverbeck pulled out a trick and convinced him. Crew rushed to the base of the pyramid, but inside it looked like a giant maze. Good luck finding the entrance. The path ahead changed randomly with a sandstorm's whims, so Beck figured he'd just go for broke. He took off running and jumped across to the steps, facing the floating stairs like a delivery guy racing against the clock. In his haste, he clung to a gear and stopped the sandstorm. Just as they entered, a creepy monster crawled up from the ground. It was the masked Sphinx. To pass, answer its riddle or face death. The god of wisdom stood firm, waiting for the questions, but when he answered order, he got a smack from the Sphinx, obviously not the right answer. He tried again, answering purity, but the Sphinx expression turned darker. Clearly, this divine being was losing patience. Horus had to tough it out and buy time for the god of wisdom to think, while he readied the magic water to douse the desert's fire. Out of the blue, a huge cage shot up from the ground, trapping Horus and the goddess of love. The desert god Set had been lying in wait, ready to pounce. He stole the god of wisdom's power from behind, like a magic trick. Meanwhile, Set dropped a bomb on Beck. "You didn't even have the power to ask for souls. Horus was using you all along." Suddenly, the temple collapsed violently, and Horus struggled desperately to break free, like a great escape. He used the giant gear as a shield, and at the last moment, the group made a daring escape from the pyramid, just like in the movies. Beck was heartbroken, finding out not only could he not revive his girlfriend's heir, but he was also broke. Kicked out of the pyramid, he was devastated. Meanwhile, the goddess of love was touched by his feelings, clasping her hand seriously. She summoned the god of the underworld, Anubis, deciding to give him her precious bracelet for Saya. This way Saya would have a chance to be reborn. After saying goodbye to Horus, she took off the bracelet. In the blink of an eye, she was whisked away by a demon. Heartbroken, Horus handed the bracelet to Beck, sending him off with Anubis for Saya's final farewell. He stood a bunch of souls waiting for a breath, and Saya joined them, passing through 9 gates to finally face the judge. Before them stood a massive scale. The judgment wasn't about good or evil, but wealth. An Egyptian millionaire plopped down all his riches, and the judge happily granted him a ticket for rebirth. Forever and ever, the old lady rushed to the scale in a tizzy. She offered a ring as light as a feather, and the judge asked her to step on the scales. It was comical. The next second, the poor lady turned to ashes. No rebirth for her. Poor Saya, tears in her eyes, realizing she lacked the wealth to be reborn. So, her boyfriend sought the goddess of love's help to open the gates of hell. Just as Beck placed the bracelet and the scales. Suddenly, the earth shook violently. A mysterious creature invaded and cracked the reincarnation gate. A chaotic force surged. Anubis dashed to block, like a superhero. Turns out, it was all Set's tricky doing. To get stronger, she fused 3 divine artifacts together. Talk about greedy. With Osiris' heart, she quickly gained the power to rule the world, and then snagged the Eye of Ra. It was a walk in the park. Set evolved into the strongest deity on Earth, donned the guardian wings, and soared into space like a cosmic queen. No longer content with ruling Earth, she now aims to dethrone the supreme deity and rule the universe. How could the sun god accept this? She wasted no time flexing her muscles, using solar energy to show off. Little did she know, she had become powerful. As the sun god let his guard down, Sip promptly stabbed her grandpa right in the chest. She snatched his solar spear and hurled the sun god into the endless abyss, sending him into an eternal nap. With the sun god's suppression gone, chaotic beasts were about to break loose, and the sky god and Ra instantly flew off to stop her. Set returned to Earth, raising her hand to guide the chaotic beasts. What a show of power! She aimed to gain divine immortality by annihilating both realms of existence, but only the sky god and Ra stood in her times el pant a tilde divided by I circumflex eomet and inetee en legacy z not sign ede circumflex I circumflex eomet eightee en legacy z not sign a quarter o tilde eq un o mat micro yen s delta ao grove braille 1267. Symbol 3680, y cute, a letter 3f2 cents, a stroke times u double acute s city a letter 3ca, stealthily snuck int, with big pan that sign o cute tilde found the right spot I felt she was finally in the right place plus or minus, i.e. u mat a quarter o grove symbol 36c h plus or minus span sharpes, eomer the circumflex, o circumflex letter 1b6 law f micro eomer o eu. Pound copyright. Ra couldn't stand the slower elevator and reluctantly decided to climb up the outer wall instead. While Set was busy directing the chaotic beasts, Ra prepared a sneak attack from behind but got caught, and they found themselves in a life or death showdown atop the tower. With only half his divine power restored, Ra was no match for Set and barely managed to hold off a few blows before getting knocked down.